Carol, I love your last line in this response, that Jesus will fulfill both the judgment and deliverance for Israel. Uh, I think that's a insightful encapsulation of the wonder of God's self-disclosure in Jesus, that it does not just become sort of an instrument for a further judgment or deliverance that lies beyond it, but is itself the way that judgment and deliverance come together, the fullness of God's self-revelation. And I think that's why the presentation of Matthew can be so hopeful, so uh, convinced, shall we say, about the power of Jesus's life to bring forgiveness even to people who oppose him, starting with the one who betrays him, that he shares this meal with, the Passover meal, then the others of his disciples, all of whom are going to desert him, and then the forgiveness that comes through his blood to all of his people and beyond, even the people that are gathered there in the courts before Pilate, sort of put up to this by the chief priests, clamoring for Jesus's execution and calling down a curse upon themselves. His blood be upon us and our children. But Matthew has told us what this blood is for. It's for the forgiveness of sins. That is the covenant that God promised for Israel and for Judah and Jeremiah. And so God is acting even against others' intentions, others' efforts to oppose God, to bring about what God wills in God's mercy, which is forgiveness. That doesn't bypass judgment, though, as you say, doesn't bypass consequences for how people live, but it refuses to allow those negative consequences to have the last word in people's lives. And that, I think, is key to who Jesus is as God with us in God's fullness. One other just observation that I think is worth underscoring as we get to the end of this course here is how you've, even in a very summary way, indicated that these quotations of prophecy, allusions to prophecy, don't treat those prophetic sources as just kind of standalone nuggets. There's a kind of larger narrative drama that is evoked by the words that Matthew quotes or alludes to in the prophets. And so Jesus isn't just like ticking off boxes of, little messianic prophecies or something. Instead, his life is embodying a kind of fullness that the narrative drama of those prophets was signaling. And that, I think, is a better way of understanding how scripture is fulfilled by Jesus, and how we then, as his disciples and followers, people who share in his life, are empowered by him to join in fulfilling those prophetic hopes as part of the messianic work of God in the world. Um, hey, great to have you in the class. I'm so glad we got to have at least a good number of Zoom discussions together. And so I just want to send this video reply here as we get to the end to thank you for participating in the course and for your thoughtful work the whole time. Hope it's been a blessing for you, a formative course, and that maybe our paths will cross again. Thanks.